Hi, I'm Tom Dessou, and I work for the Slingmax group. And today we're going to work on D to D ratio on our rigging gear. And it varies from piece to piece. So we're going to go through each type of gear to do it. We're going to start off with single part wire rope. We're then going to go to 3-part wire rope, to 9-part wire rope, to synthetic web slings, synthetic round slings, in particular single path, then twin path, and then we'll also talk about blocks a little bit as well. So D to D ratio originally started with wire rope. It started out with mainly single part wire rope. And what D to D ratio is the diameter of curvature around which a wire rope sling is bent affects its capacity. So the more we bend a wire rope around an object affects how the capacity is. Now with a single part wire rope sling, it's 25-to-1 D to D. And the 25-to-1 is 25 times the diameter of the wire rope. So whatever the object is divided then by the wire rope, and that's how you get your D to D ratio. Single part is 25-to-1. If it happens to be less than 25, you're going to have to then derate per the chart for what that percentage is. And it's simply of taking the diameter of the object, dividing by the finished diameter of the wire rope sling. That'll give you your percentage, and you look for that percentage on your chart, and you just take your working load limit for that in your straight line configuration, then times it by that percentage, and that'll give you your new working load for that wire rope. When it comes to 3-part, and the 3-part is multi-part wire rope, and the idea is you get 3 smaller component parts which will give you a finished diameter. Now the D to D ratio is different for 3 parts. For in the body that you see here, it's 5-to-1 compared to 25-to-1 in a single part. And in the eye, it's 1.5 times to 1, 1.5-to-1 for the D to D ratio, which is a really, really good D to D ratio. Now there are multiple part wire rope slings. You can have a 3-part, a 4-part, a 5-part, a 6-part, a 7-part, an 8-part, and a 9-part. At Slingmax Group, we typically do 3-part and 9-part. Now this is a 9-part gator lathe, and it's, again, the diameter of curvature around which the rope sling is bent affects its capacity. Now with this one, it has a 5-to-1 D to D in the body, but this is different. It's a parallel lathe eye right here, and this has a 1-to-1 D to D ratio, which is excellent. And most multi-parts don't have that. And when it comes to other multi-parts that aren't Slingmax, you need to check the manufacturer's recommendations for it because they do differ. Slingmax recommendations are 5-to-1 in the body for 3 or 9-part. For 3-part triflex, they are 1.5 times to 1 in the eye. And for a gator lathe or a 9-part, it's typically 1-to-1 in the eye. Chain also has a D to D ratio. When I went to school in early 90s into chain school, there was no D to D ratio. So this is something what a lot of people still don't realize, that the chain manufacturers came out with D to D ratio in regards to chain slings. And why they did that is they did not want to point load a single link. The manufacturers got together and they came up with 6 or greater for a D to D ratio. So it's that diameter has to be 6 times or greater what the diameter of the link is, okay? So that would be the D to D ratio for chain slings. D to D ratio in regards to synthetic slings varies from what type of sling it is, and it's completely different in regards to how it applies to wire rope and with synthetics. When I say different, I mean synthetics are a lot more forgiving in regards to that. Synthetic web slings basically don't have a D to D ratio until you get to really, really small diameters, and especially when using hardware. The Web Sling and Tie Down Association does have a formula to figure out what you typically need to do to derate your slings in regards to that if you're going to be using very, very small diameters with it. But typically, if you're using the same size shackle as the capacity as the sling, you should be generally okay. But if you want to check, you can always check the WSTDA formula to double check yourself in regards to synthetic web. The same thing's true with single path synthetic round slings. There really isn't a huge D to D ratio problem you have to worry about when it comes to these, but there will be a chart in the WSTDA that you can refer to for the minimum diameter when it comes to single path round slings. Now, our twin path round slings, we used to always say whatever the smallest diameter, that's the equal capacity of the sling, you can run with. But we do have minimum diameters charts in regards to that, and it varies from size to size. Typically, if you're running the same capacity as the sling, you will be fine. But if you're going to be going below that, you want to check the chart, and the charts are at slingmax.com to be able to check that. Now, when it comes to rope slings, synthetic rope slings, it's 2-to-1 in the eye, and it's 8-to-1 in the body. So rope slings are more in regards to the same like wire rope slings that you have the body and the eye. But you really need to check with each different manufacturer and also refer to the WSTDA website for that formula if you want to really dive super deep into the D to D ratio for synthetics. One of the last things you have to look at for D to D ratio is if you're using a wire rope sling in a block. Now, a lot of times people will just put the wire rope sling in the block and think, oh, I can use whatever the block capacity is. That's not the case. You have to take the diameter of the sheave to the diameter of the wire rope and make sure you have the strength that you need. And if not, you're going to possibly have to go to a much larger block to do what you need to do. And where a lot of people also need to look at is when you use fittings, the size of the fitting compared to the diameter of the wire rope. You really need to take a look at your D to D because it really does affect your capacity of your slings. Please check the charts for what type of wire rope you're using and what size the diameter of the block is as well. Thank you for taking the time for watching this Tom Talk for the Slingmax Group. If you have any further questions, please visit iandisling.com and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have in regards to D to D ratio, and charts will be up there as well. Thank you.